The saddest day in history occurred when sin first entered the world, marking the moment when Adam and Eve chose to distrust God and disobey his command. This pivotal act of rebellion, which took place in the Garden of Eden, unleashed consequences far beyond what they could have imagined. In the moment, the very fabric of creation was torn, and everything God had made good and perfect was marred. The harmony between God and humanity was shattered, and with it, the peace and order of the world. Before sin entered, Adam and Eve enjoyed a direct, intimate relationship with God. They walked with him in the garden, knowing him face to face, and experiencing his love and provision in perfect fellowship. But their decision to listen to the serpent and eat the forbidden fruit broke that trust. The serpent, representing temptation and evil, convinced them that God was withholding something good for them. That if they ate from the tree, they would become like God, knowing good and evil. This lie led them to choose their own way over God's perfect plan. And in doing so, they fractured the relationship that was the foundation of everything. Sin entered the world, and with that came death, not just physical death, but in the spiritual death of separation from God. This moment of rebellion brought terrible loss to all of creation. The immediate effects were seen in the garden itself. Where once there had been peace and flourishing, now there were consequences, shame, guilt, and alienation. Adam and Eve tried to hide from God, realizing that for the first time they were naked and vulnerable. They became estranged from their Creator and fractured their relationship with God, had ripple effects that extended beyond them. The consequences of this fall from grace were not isolated to one moment in time. From generation to generation, the story of sin's effects unfolded. The story of Cain's violence that echoed throughout human history in wars, injustices, and brokenness that followed. It wasn't just the individual sins of people that caused pain. It was the deep, pervasive nature of sin itself, affecting every part of creation, human hearts, relationships, communities, and the very world we inhabit. But thankfully, the story doesn't end in despair. In the midst of humanity's tragic fall, God began his work of rescue, redemption, and restoration. From the moment sin entered the world, God promised he would not leave his creation in its brokenness. Throughout history, God has continued to reach out to humanity, calling people to turn back to him, to trust his provision, and to seek his healing. The story of God's rescue unfolds the lives of individuals and nations as he works through covenants, laws, prophets, and ultimately through the person of Jesus Christ. God's desire is to restore what is broken, seen in how he has consistently pursued humanity, never abandoning us, even when we turn away. And as we look towards the future, we can be confident that God's plan is to redeem, restore, and to make all things new, and that they will come to fruition.